This is a magic trick no one can figure out. A white cloth and a chair, and it makes a person float in mid-air. The man stared wide-eyed, but couldn't figure out the secret. He desperately wanted to buy this trick from the magician. He was willing to pay any price, but the magician refused, because he wanted to leave all his knowledge to his grandson. So the man begged the magician to perform it again, but when the magician covered the chair with the white cloth again, he collapsed right there. The desperate man secretly stole the magician's notebook. 9 years later, a master of the floating chair trick became a legend in the industry, and he was none other than the man who had killed the old magician Naveen. One day a reporter came to interview him. He walked up and shook his hand respectfully, but Naveen immediately called out his trick.
Can I have my ring back, please?
Turns out the reporter was also a magic enthusiast. After a somewhat awkward exchange, the reporter returned the ring. Then he wanted to show Naveen another magic trick. The reporter had Naveen write down a string of numbers on a piece of paper and not let him see it. Then he went to the other side of the room to grab a fruit. Naveen returned with a banana. The reporter pulled out a knife, cut the banana to prove it was real, then cut his palm, and rubbed the blood onto the paper. The numbers Naveen had written on the paper slowly began to appear. Naveen initially pretended to be impressed, but then he tore the reporter apart. It was a little clumsy and old-fashioned, but as a beginner not bad. I don't know who you learned this from.
Suppose it's from my granddad.
The young man said he got into magic because of his grandfather, but his grandfather disappeared 9 years ago. Naveen paused. Could this be the old magician's grandson? He said, "Death is final condolences."
Never said he was dead.
Naveen froze. He quickly found an excuse to end the interview, and promised to give him a book with his autograph. While Naveen was grabbing the book, the young man immediately rushed to the safe, and typed in the numbers Naveen had just written, but the code was wrong. At that moment Naveen appeared behind him. He said, "You don't really think some psychological trick is gonna get my password?"
You killed him, didn't you?
Naveen calmly said, "You need evidence to talk." The young man he get the police to come with a search warrant. Once the young man left, Naveen panicked. He rushed to turn off the house's security cameras, then opened the safe, took out the old magician's notebook and burned it. The next day the police came, but it wasn't about the young man. It was because his wife had been murdered the night before. Naveen was stunned. Then the police asked him where he was last night. Naveen said he was in his studio, and had surveillance footage to prove it, but then he remembered he'd turned off the cameras the night before. Now the police were even more suspicious. They quickly noticed the safe in the corner and asked Naveen to open it. Naveen started to feel something was off, until he raised his hand, typed in the password, and looked at the ring on his finger, and slowly everything started to make sense.